Brasil, meu Brasil brasileiro, meu mulato isoneiro, vou cantar-te nos meus versos. O Brasil samba que dá bamboleio de admirar, o Brasil do meu amor, terra de nosso Senhor. Brasil, pra mim, pra mim, pra mim. Oh, abre a cortina do passado, tira a mãe preta do cerrado, bota o rei Congo no congado. Canta de novo, trovador, a merencora luz da lua, toda a canção do meu amor. Brasil, pra mim, Brasil, pra mim. Oh, abre a cortina do passado, tira a mãe preta do cerrado, bota o rei Congo no congado. Canta, canta de novo, trovador, a merencora luz da lua, toda a canção do meu amor. Brasil, pra mim, pra mim, pra mim. Nas noites claras de luar, Brasil, pra mim, pra mim, pra mim. Oh, 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 essas fontes murmurantes, aonde eu mato a minha sede, aonde a lua vem brincar. Oh, esse Brasil lindo e trigueiro é o meu Brasil brasileiro, terra de samba e pandeiro. Brasil, pra mim, pra mim, pra mim, pra mim.
And with that, hello everyone. How are you this evening? My name's Joseph Bartholomew. Estrella and I are both in this presentation together. Tonight we're presenting on the democratization of information and education as it applies to Australia and Brazil. Now, first of all, before we get into our presentation, what I'd like to go ahead and speak to you about is our service project for this presentation series, which is Samaritan's Purse. Now, first thing you need to know, what is Samaritan's Purse? Is a program that is a not-for-profit organization. It's been in existence for about 40 years, and they provide services worldwide, including education, healthcare, food, and shelter for those in need. Now, as far as education is concerned, one of our main goals is to raise at least $15 so we can teach a child to read and write. Now, of course, we want to raise more than $15. The more we raise, the more children we can teach to read and write. So we would like you to give as much as you can. If you have it to give, please give. If you've already given, thank you for your service, and thank you for providing someone with an opportunity to learn. And without further ado, let's go ahead and begin.
from this whole world, we choose two countries. Australia and Brazil.
First thing we need to know about Brazil, about Australia, excuse me, is its size. It's about just over 7.5 million kilometers, or in square miles, just under 3 million square miles.
In Brazil, we can say 3.3 million square miles.
Now for Australia, they have a total population of 21.5 million. Of those 21.5 million, 18.6% are of school age, from 0 to 14 years old. The urbanization of the population is at 89%. That is the population that lives in an urban area, of course. The predominant language is English, British English in this instance, not American English. The literacy is actually at 99% countrywide, and that's for literacy that considers all adults 15 and older that can read and write. As far as their test scores, in a 41 nations surveyed and tested, Australia consistently places within the 3rd and 6th rank. U.S. is middling at 12th and 13th, just for a little bit of, just so you can see where their ranking is.
Brazil population goes to 201 million approximately, and we have 26.7% of the population from 0 to 14 years old, and the ones in school, and 86% for the urban population. The predominant language in Brazil is Portuguese. It's not Brazilian. It's Portuguese, and it comes from Portugal. And they have also the influence of the Tupi-Guarani, the native Indian language. So now you know Portuguese, please. And Brazil is on the 36th to 38th on the reading rank out of the 41 countries. And US is again 12th and 13th.
Australia, their school life expectancy, that's from first entering school through college, is 21 years. The average, or the length of compulsory, that is from what they're required to be enrolled in, is 11 years. And on average, Australians remain in school for 10.9 years. So on average, Australians usually complete their school education, at least for primary and secondary education. They also have their education expenditure for the government is at 4.9% of GDP. Their gross domestic product is $805.1 billion. So that equates to about $39.4 billion spent yearly per GDP.
The school life expectancy in Brazil will be 14 years, and the length of compulsory education, 80 years. The average length of education is 4.9 years, like 5 years. And the education expenditure is 5.2 of GDP. The gross domestic product in Brazil is equivalent to $2.02 trillion, because we have a lot of people. And that means that they use $104.5 billion for education. However, as we discussed about, Australia has they know how to use the money for education. In Brazil, they invest a lot of money, but they don't know how to use. They have like a treasure, but they don't know how to use that.
Now we'll be discussing the education systems of both Australia and Brazil. Australia's education system it's a managed. It doesn't have a national education system. The education of each state is managed by that state. The curriculum varies by state, but there is the overall goals for the curriculum are basically the same for each state. For public schools, their primary funding comes from their own local states. They also receive supplementary funding for schools from the federal government itself.
And for Brazil, the public school system is basic managed by the local governments. And the core curriculum is defined by the Federal Council of Education. And the learning outcomes are not similar. And the public schools in Brazil, they are primarily funded by the local government also. And like in Australia, the supplementary funding is made by the federal government.
Now, as far as private schools are concerned, Australia's private schools are primarily, they receive the majority of their public funding from the federal government. And they also receive, the bulk of their funding still comes from private funds, but the majority of their public funding does come from the federal government. And they receive supplementary public funding from each state's government. And the majority of their private schools are religiously based, with about 2/3 being Catholic.
On the other hand, in Brazil, the funding for the private schools are basically made by the private honors, the honors of the schools. But as well in Australia, if we need a supplementary funding with the federal government, we're going to do that. And great part of the schools also are religious affiliated. However, not all of them or most part of them, like in Australia. We do have those, the first school here is Colégio Damas. It's a religious, very good school, religious affiliated. And the other one, the third one, is Maria Auxiliadora. And the middle one is the one that I studied in Brazil. It's at Colégio Equipe. And it actually just came to compete and have better students than, oh, my students are the best in the region. It's not like to help and everything. They're greedy, but I'm not kidding, but they're very, very good. And here we can see the 10 best schools in Pernambuco. I choose Pernambuco not just because it's the state that I live in, but the best schools in Brazil are located on the south. Oh Lord. Okay. The best schools in Brazil are located on the east and the south. So Pernambuco is right on the coast in the east. And we can see there the Colégio Equipe, the school I studied. And as the first one in the private ones. And the public ones, we have the first one, but is the UFPE, Colégio Aplicação UFPE. It's related with a state university. So you can guess how the money comes, and they are very selective to put students there. It's just the best students. It's not you enter in the school make you good. It's you need to be good to enter in the school.
Next, we'll be discussing the challenges for each education system. Now, for Australia, one of their biggest challenges is their location. They have a very, very low population density. They have about 4.5 people per square mile. By comparison, the U.S. has 54.5 people per square mile, and Brazil has 38.3 people per square mile. So yeah, that's tiny. The bulk of the population is centered around 3 major cities, as you can see on the eastern coast there. The bulk of the population is centered there. And everywhere else, you'll have a problem where you're much further from any urban area, period. Now, for people in an urban area, or rather in a rural area, they'll have up to a 90-minute both ways, 90 minutes both ways to get to and from school every day. And even if you're further than that, then you're not going to be able to reasonably commute to a school, a public school, or any school at all on a daily basis. Secondary options for schooling are distance learning, which we'll get into a little bit later, and also boarding school. Now, the biggest problem with boarding schools is that you are able to go and attend a school away from your family, so you get to learn, but you don't get the connection with your own family. And that can lead to some psychological issues, as has been shown throughout history. So that option is available, but not strongly recommended.
And for Brazil, we have 3 major challenges. The first one is the school non-attendance in low-income families. And they came up with the Bolsa Escola program, literally translating to school bag. And they actually give the money, each child represents a salary. And instead of having your children working, the government says, no, I pay for that, just put your children in school and I will pay for that. instead of make them working. But this little girl there, her name is Joanna, and she used to live in Itamaracá, a little island next to Pernambuco, the state that I used to live in. And she used to live eating trash in the poor areas of Recife, the capital of Pernambuco. And my grandmother, so loving, I love her so much, and she's an example for me. She wanted to adopt this child, and she took care of her, and now she's like that, healthy and everything. But her mother, when that Bolsa Escola came up, her mother said, no, I want my child back because I need to put her in school, and I received the money for that. And now she's living there again, eating trash, and she did not learn how to write or read. The other challenge is the disparity of public education between the municipalities. The money of education in Brazil, that goes for education in Brazil, it's basically based on the tax incomes. So if, for example, São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, the rich cities, they have very good public schools. But places like Itamaracá and places that Joanna lived, they do not have at all. And also the availability, due in part to the poor education infrastructure that has caused mass migration to private school. I went to a private school because the public school in my city was really bad. So I am an example of this, mass migration to private schools. And also the lower income technology access. Many public schools do not have access to technology, and when they do have, they do not know how to manage it. They do not know how to use a computer or programs. They are not informed. They are not educated for that. So we have a video here from a girl, Kelsey. She studied in public school and in a private school in Recife, and we did an interview with her.
Excuse me.
Como os alunos têm acesso à informação na sua escola?
De forma precária, eles têm que se virar sozinhos, cada um por si, por outro.
E que poder tem o acesso à tecnologia? O que isso influencia no seu aprendizado?
É um fundamental uma coisa, porque aproveitando e trazendo as informações que talvez aqui não tenha certos tipos de livros, como de geografia, assim que lança, já está precisando atualizar.
E para você, quais são as diferenças entre as escolas públicas e privadas?
As conferências são a valorização dos professores e dos alunos. Nas escolas particulares, os alunos querem algo da vida. Já os da escola pública não. Fazem por obrigação. Não é aquela deles que vem, eu vou fazer isso porque eu quero ser um.
Na sua opinião, o que seria necessário para conciliar essa diferença entre as duas escolas?
Investimento do governo, a valorização dos professores, valorização também dos alunos, porque por certas atitudes causa a desvalorização dos alunos. Os alunos não têm aquela motivação assim.
E como que nós, alunos da Universidade Norte-Americana, podemos ajudar então nesse progresso, especialmente promovendo acesso à tecnologia e à informação?
Acredito que os alunos das escolas não poderiam fazer algo se o governo americano assim, bem fazendo, ele tem ajudado, a gente vê que escolas que são patrocinadas pelo governo americano, então essas escolas são melhores. E a gente já vê essa ajuda.
Existe algum projeto dependente do governo e não lucrativo para promover a educação e o acesso à informação? Se sim, cite alguns, por favor.
Sim, existem projetos que eles dão melhor tratamento, dão dinheiro, dão notebooks, passagem de graça, mas assim,
and next we'll be discussing the solution to the challenges that we have just spoken about. Now for Australia, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. One of their solutions to the issue of the distance for rural areas, the distance that they have from an urban area to get to a school, one of their options is School of the Air. School of the Air was first started in 1948 using the radio system set up by the Royal Flying Doctor Service. What they first began using was something called pedal-powered radio, basically using manual power to power a generator to allow someone in the bush to be able to use a radio and contact somebody in another area. They would broadcast their lesson plans over the radio system. They'd have basically up to about 20 students at first receiving these lessons by pedal-powered radio. Now, after it became available, they began using high-frequency radio transmitters. But one of the problems with radio transmission, period, is the weather in Australia. It was been described as in one season it's hot, muggy, and dry and dusty. In another season it's hot, muggy, and wet, and there's nothing in between. So that the weather systems often interfere with the radio signals, especially when it becomes the rainy season. What they did to get around that is with the launching of the AUSAT satellite system, they began transmitting their lesson plans by satellite. Often they would transmit video lesson plans. They would transmit educational videos that these students had often never been able to see before. And now they're using a broadband satellite system for lesson transmission. What this allows them to do is have live video and audio transmission of live lesson plans, and it also allows for interactive lesson plans between teachers and students using the internet. So instead of initially they'd have to mail paperwork back and forth, and they could only do just paperwork in isolation. Now you can do live paperwork and do live math problems and do live English lessons, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And yeah, there's an awful lot that they've been able to do with that system. And now I have a video. It's from HP, Hewlett Packard. They actually had a program to bring one of the native schools into the digital age. And this is just a brief video going over how they went about doing that.
In January 2007, HP set out on an ambitious program. The aim was to allow children from all around the world to access technology and enhance their learning experiences. This year, it was Australia's turn. Of the several schools considered, there was one school that stood out. Situated 224 kilometres southwest of Darwin in the Northern Territory, within a small community of less than 400 local residents, is a remote school called St Francis Xavier. The school has 3 qualified teachers, an Indigenous teacher's aide per classroom, and 59 bright young students ranging from 4 years old through to 16. With the foundation already in place to succeed, technology was the one thing missing to take their learning to the next level. The first step of the project was to appreciate the challenges of remote education in Australia. It was critical to have the advice of locals, such as Miriam Rose Bowman, the first Indigenous teacher in the Northern Territory and the retiring principal of St Francis Xavier. Outback Australia poses unique environmental challenges. For half of the year, it's hot, humid and dusty. For the other half, it's hot, humid and wet. These conditions pose challenges for the team tasked with selecting and implementing a sustainable solution. Firstly, they had to protect the equipment from both dust and the floodwaters. This led them to select the latest HP compact ultra slim desktop PCs so that they could be raised, secured and protected behind 19-inch monitors. Secondly, they had to get the equipment there. Normally a straightforward task, but with the floodwaters rapidly rising to over 13 metres, the HP team turned to four-wheel drives, tinnies and planes. Training for the teachers is critical to ensure that they have the skills and confidence to use the technology in their lessons. SchoolKit, a leading provider of technology integration curriculum software and professional development services, designed a training package specifically for the teachers of St Francis Xavier and spent a day training the teachers at the school to ensure that they were ready. To assist in maintaining the equipment, HP will be working with CSG, a local service partner who have expertise in design, implementation and delivery of integrated technology solutions. They also have a large team of technicians and several planes which give them access to the most isolated communities. Almost 12 months since HP started this Outback adventure, stage 1 was complete. The technology had been installed and the teachers had been trained. The only thing left was to let the students switch on their new computers. The HP computer room was opened for the first time to the children of Daly River at 3 p.m. on Tuesday the 26th of February 2008, and it didn't take them long before they were typing away. But this is not the end. HP will continue to work with St Francis Xavier and look forward to seeing what these children can do with the new technology. The possibilities are endless.
Solution for the Brazilian problems was not just the Bolsa Escola, but the Bolsa Familia, the family bag. They were giving money not just for school, but money for the families with low income. And they had like two main goals. First, reduce the current poverty, and reduce the future poverty. The current poverty, just injecting capital directly to their account. And reduce poverty by increasing human capital, not just in the education area, but in the health area. However, we see that it's some people say, yeah, that thing is really good. Oh, how creative! And the other ones say, no, I don't like it. Just let's not do it anymore. And so we have pros and cons for this issue. The pros is the school no attendance has decreased. Yes, many people putting their children to school just because of the money. Anyways, and also the overall quality of human capital in the lowest income bracket has seen improvement. And the cons is that some families abuse the system. We see the Joanna's family, for example, they send the kid to school and then they make them work anyways. I need more money. And also, as all welfare program, the implementation is not perfect. The other solution is to volunteer. Yes, go volunteer, starting here, starting with the small changes, and then we will see a big one. Those are the kids that I used to volunteer in the Itamaracá Island from the prostitution, and also teaching them math and reading, since the public school there was not good. And Joanna is actually here on blue.
Now, for future concerns for the two countries, for Australia, one of their future concerns is maintaining the level of education in rural areas. As of right now, it is still at a high level. However, based on the testing for the past 5 years, there has been a slight decline. Not a major decline. They've slid basically about 2 or 3 spots on average. So there has been a slight decline, which could also be related to their increase in students in the rural areas. And so that's one of their major issues. However, as long as they maintain the path they've been on, this will not be an issue for very long. And then there's also continuing to promote technology and education. As you see, as we saw in that video, while the technology use in rural areas is still great, there are still areas that are still have not joined the digital age yet. So they still need to bring in more of the rural areas into the digital age.
And for Brazil, would be pretty much improving the educational infrastructure. Brazil invests a lot of money in education, but we still need to know how to use them and not just throw the money away for education, but know how to invest. And also, Brazil is a big country. We have many regions and they need to work together to a country's good, not just for my good, you know. And the municipalities should help the other regions that are not so good or do not have a good weather to product more, for example. And also, people need to go and volunteer or do something to educate the students in how to use technology. We see Australia here. We see the little kids knowing how to, I don't know how to do that, but they're learning kids, you know. We have in Brazil people, old people. It's just, we will talk about that in the conclusion, and just pay really close attention to the conclusion of this presentation, please.
Education in Australia, a well-oiled machine. Regardless of location, regardless of income level, all students are given access to the same high-quality, efficient education.
Education in Brazil. Public school, private school. Just a machine. It follows the cycle of history, in which only winners have access to the doors of power. Doors for which the key is money. Money.
The determinant.
The heavier weight on the scale. It blinds the rich.
It blinds the poor. Thus, the rich remain inactive.
The poor remain inactive in changing and building a better future.
Unfortunately, when examining education around the world, we find the public Brazilian education system to be the rule
rather than the exception. As a child of history, the world follows its genetic cycle.
The rich keep getting the best.
And the poor, maybe. The rest.
Arrested in this economic system.
Dependent on the people's reaction.
To focus the money in education.
To spread knowledge and information. Along with the globalization in which we share our cultures and situations.
Now just listen, just compare.
Hunger.
Child labor, illiteracy,
poverty. actions do these. It's time to share.
More than just data and information.
It's time to share.
It's time to share.
Now. Our actions.
Do not wait to do it and then see the change, but
Do it and wait to see the change. Expand education. To be the change. Thank you very much.